Okay. Hi guys, if you're wondering why I look like a hoe right now, it's because I'm going to a holiday party in a few hours, but I wanted to film this Q&A while there's still light out. In one of my previous videos, I asked you guys to send me questions to do a Q&A to celebrate 10K. I got around like 200 questions, so obviously I'm not going to be able to answer them all, but I will try to answer as much as I can. I'm going to start with bookish related questions, and then booktube related questions, and then more questions about my personal life, and then maybe some miscellaneous, depending on what time permits. Let's begin with bookish questions. Who would you kill off between Inej or Kaz? Bitch, why the fuck would you ever ask me that? But I would kill Kaz. I think if he knew what the circumstances were that I had to kill between one or the other, Kaz would tell me to go ahead and just kill him instead, because he would want Inej to live a happy life that she's supposed to live. And Inej would have enough self-respect to not want herself to be killed by me. What was the last fantasy book you read? The main character has to save you from being killed. How screwed are you? Well, I'm currently reading the Grisha trilogy and the main character is Alina, so I am definitely screwed. I'm pretty much gonna go ahead and let myself die because Alina is a stupid fucking bitch. She is not gonna save me. Like, what is she gonna do? Fucking blind people? I already do that with my face. What was the book that got you into reading? I was never really a reader until around senior year of college. I started listening to audiobooks because I wanted something to help me pass the time. So I listened to the audiobooks of the Lunar Chronicles, and that was how I got hooked into young adult. How do you not feel self-pressure to buy books? Like, sis, I need some help. I don't feel pressure to buy books because I just take advantage of my library. If there is a book that I want to borrow, then I will request the library to purchase it. And usually it takes them from a few weeks to a few months, but I already have so many other books out there to read that I don't have any problem with waiting a little bit for a new release. I got a lot of questions asking me what my favorite books are. Bitch, are you even watching? We all know it's Crooked Motherfucking Kingdom. What's one thing that turns you away from watching someone's video? When they ask me straight up to watch their video, when it's clear that they didn't even watch mine, they just commented to get views or whatever. That never works out. I got a few questions asking if I would write a book at some point, and if so, what genre. I actually have written a few books back when I was in high school. I participated in NaNoWriMo, I think 3 years in a row. So I wrote a couple of novels when I had a lot more free time. The first novel that I wrote was a paranormal adventure. The second one I wrote was sci-fi. And then the third one was fantasy. And then in college, I also wrote a dystopian novel. So I pretty much go all over the place with genres. The first book that I wrote was like 150,000 words. Never published any of them. I've never queried any agents or whatever. I just kept them in storage. I do think it is a life goal for me to one day publish a novel like every basic bitch booktuber out there. But because I'm very busy with my design career right now, that has kind of been put on hold. So I would like to go back in and revisit some of the novels that I wrote and polish it up a little more. Once I feel like my design career has settled down a little bit and I have a bit more free time, I would like to try publishing novels when I'm in my 30s. So we'll see. What scene would you like to be in the third Six of Crows book? I want Kaz and Inej to finally fuck. No, I'm just kidding. They honestly, they don't even need to fuck. Just like, just a kiss or something. Just a peck. Like, beggars can't be choosers. I'm like begging for scraps right now. If they even just like brush a little bit of skin contact, that would be amazing. This is like fucking Victorian times right now, where like the skin just brushes just slightly and you're like, holy shit. That's how it is with their relationship. I love the slow burn. I would love it if there were more scenes between them in the third book where there is more physical contact, not just because I'm a smutty bitch, but also because it represents them starting to overcome their trauma. Because as you guys know, Inej and Kaz both have a lot of mental issues dealing with skin contact. So honestly, if they just touch each other a little bit, it would be so amazing. Would you read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller? I am open to that. I know that she also published Circe, I think is how you pronounce it. I wanted to read Circe first, but now I'm actually not sure which book I should start on, so let me know. If you had to live in one book universe, which would it be and why? I like to keep my fantasy and my reality separate. I would not want to live in a fantasy world because I know I would just die. The closest book that I can think of that is not exactly like our world would be They Both Die at the End. end, I would want to live in that world because on the day of your death, you get a phone call where you are notified that you're going to die. Maybe it's because I don't fear death. I think it is a very practical form of technology because it lets you make sure that you're not wasting your last day and you're able to say your final goodbyes and you're able to donate the money that you have to the organizations that you want to donate to. So I would approach it just very pragmatically. Fuck, marry, kill, Inej, Nina, or Jesper. I would kill Nina because she is such a powerful bitch that I'm pretty sure that she would be able to resurrect herself. I don't know how she's gonna do it, but she's such a badass that I know that she can do it. And then I would fuck Jesper because I think he would be good in bed, and I would marry Inej because duh. What are some of your favorite tropes? I am a sucker for the male character being externally a tough-looking, gruff kind of guy, but on the inside he's like a sweet cinnamon roll. One example of this would be Wolf from the book Scarlet and the Lunar Chronicles. He is just like my ideal man. Which young adult genre would you most likely be a main character in? I would not survive in a fantasy world, so I would just be in a contemporary novel. Probably like a tragedy, I don't know. If you could rewrite one best-selling series, what would it be? I think I would rewrite Twilight because it was such a cultural phenomenon, but I would love to rewrite it in a way that depicts healthy relationships or a main character that has the agency to walk away from an unhealthy relationship. Do you have any reading goals for 2019? I do not. I don't believe in having reading goals because I'm just not interested in that kind of thing. I don't try to aim for like a certain number of books to be read or try to aim for a specific genre or anything like that. I just read whatever I want to read and whatever is available in my library. So not interested in that. I just want to read whenever I feel like it. Worst bookish cliche. I guess the chosen one trope. I feel like that's been overdone so many times and I haven't seen it really done well. Are you ready for King of Scars? Because I'm not. I need to learn more about Nikolai to see if I will be excited for it. But I'll still read King of Scars anyway because I know that Nina will make an appearance there. So gotta support my girl. What books are you looking forward to reading? I am looking forward to reading more adult books. I feel like I've been reading a lot of young adult lately because of the Grisha-longathon, and now I've just had this urge to read more like contemporary adult books. If you were going to battle, which 3 book characters would you take with you to survive? Bonus points if you don't include anybody from Six of Crows. For that, I would choose Naomi and Abel from Defy the Stars because the reason why I really liked that book was because those 2 main characters were extremely competent and smart and had great communication skills. You never had to worry about them getting caught up in stupid shit because they were so competent at everything that they did that they would just be able to get out of it. Not because they were Mary Sue's, but just because she's a trained soldier and he's a highly intelligent AI. They just had their shit together and I trust them to like back me up in that. The 3rd character I would choose, I guess, would be Evelyn Hugo. Even though she doesn't have any fighting skills, she is like a hardcore Slytherin and she's very sneaky. She would be able to use her street smarts to get an advantage over the enemy. Maybe she'll seduce them, I don't know. If we die or something, I could use her boobs as like a cushion. You know, when you want to feel comfortable in your last moments before your death. Evelyn Hugo's main asset was like her giant boobs. I feel like they would be just so comforting to like, you know, smush my face in there. I really hope the walls in this room are thin. What is one book you do not want adapted for screen for fear of it being butchered? I actually believe that any book can be adapted well to the screen, and I think Netflix is a good example of that. I guess the closest answer I could give for you for that would be manga. I think a lot of times manga doesn't really translate well to live action. The way that it's drawn and the way that the plots are and the characters are, it's very cartoonish, and I think that when it gets translated into live action, it feels awkward. How do you pick out your next read? It's just whatever I feel like, and it's whatever is available in the library. I will try to balance out my reads a little bit, where I try not to read too much young adult all at once or several times in a row. So I'll try to balance like young adult, and then I switch over to nonfiction, and then I switch over to like some other genre instead. Do you use any other of your library's resources that are not books or audiobooks? And do you have a favorite thing about your library that is not books? I love this question. I go to my library pretty much almost every weekend. weekend. I pretty much use the library as a way to focus on work because I can't concentrate on working when I'm at home. So I go to the library and I use their space to just concentrate on my side projects there. I've also used some of their meeting rooms when I have to do like an interview. But my library is really cool because they have tons of other resources like 3D printers and design computer labs and all that other kind of jazz. I just haven't used it personally because that's already available at my workplace, but I love that it is available to the public. How do you rate and review books that you read? I rate books 5 stars if I really love the book and they are objectively good. I rate a book 4 stars if I think that the book is good but it still has some flaws to it, or if the book wasn't objectively very good but I still liked it enough in a guilty pleasure way. I rate it 4 stars as like my personal 4 stars. I'll rate a book 3 stars if I just feel ambivalent about it or if there's just too many flaws for me to give it, you know, a higher rating. I give books 2 stars if I did not enjoy it. They don't get bumped down to 1 star unless I find the books to be problematic. Would you read a book on Wattpad? I mean, I kind of did read After, and all the 12-year-olds just like crucified me for that. Which character would you most like to punch in the face? Enon from Children of Blood and Bone. Is there anything less diverse than a Sarah J. Maas book? I don't know, Harry Potter? I'm pretty sure I pissed off a huge amount of people, but I haven't read either of those books. It's just what I've heard, okay? What is your opinion on audiobooks? Audiobooks was actually how I started to read more actively, but usually now I will opt for physical books because it's hard for audiobooks to kind of retain my attention, and I often find that I'm losing context for some of the things that happen in books. And also, I do think the narration kind of influences your impressions of books as well. There are a lot of books that I listened via audiobook that I rated 3 stars, and part of me wonders if I would have rated it higher if I had just read the physical copy. For me, I try to read it physically, but I think that audiobooks are a great resource for other people if they can retain the story. If you could marry one book character, who would you marry? I would marry Evelyn Hugo, because then I would be featured in her book, and she could be like my sugar mama. What are 3 things that you are instantly attracted to in a book? Okay. Only one thing will get me to read a book, no matter what genre it is, and that is a relationship for me to gush over. If there is a couple for me to ship, it doesn't matter if it's fantasy or dystopian or contemporary or historical, I will be very, very interested in reading it because deep down, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I need to live vicariously through the love lives of other characters. Tips on getting through a reading slump. I don't think you should force yourself to read books if you don't want to. It's okay to take a break, but if you're trying to get through a reading slump, maybe try reading shorter books that you know are more palatable, and then that can kind of get you more into practice of finishing books. What is your most anticipated book in 2019? I don't even know what books are coming out in 2019. If you can let me know in the comments, I will check them out. Have or will you read any horror books? I don't really read many horror books because I tend to be more invested in character-driven stories rather than plot-driven stories or more atmospheric stories. I need to care about the characters for me to enjoy a book. So if you guys have any recommendations for horror stories that have really good characters, let me know in the comments. Has reading helped you with your troubled past? No, antidepressants did. What's a book besides Six of Crows that you would recommend to anyone? I actually would not recommend Six of Crows to anyone. I think that it is a very dense fantasy book that is not for everyone because it has such a steep learning curve. However, I would recommend The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo because that is objectively a very good book. If you were designing a book cover, what is one thing you wouldn't put on it and one thing you would? I would not put stock images of real people on book covers. I hate that. I think that it makes the book look so trashy, and a lot of times it's not even accurate to how the characters would look like. One thing that I would include in it, instead of slapping a font on it, is like an original hand letter title. Why did you decide to check out books from the library instead of buying them? Because I'm a cheap bitch. What do you think about the Darkling so far from book 1, and do you have any predictions about him? I feel very ambivalent about the Darkling. I was intrigued for him in the beginning, but I feel like towards the end he was more of like a trope. My prediction for him is that he will die in book 3. This is not a spoiler because I actually don't know if he will die, but that's going to be my prediction. Don't spoil it for me. I'm just going to call it right now. Do you have tips to get books if your library does not have it? I think that that there are cheap online sites that you can buy books from, like Book Depository. You can also get like free trials on Audible if you're also into audiobooks. I would say just look far and wide for any of the resources that might be available to you and just make the most out of what you have. If all the characters in Six of Crows were to go on a road trip, what do you think would need the most pit stops? That is so fucking cute. I love that scenario. I would guess Wylan. I don't know why. I just feel like he's the kind of bitch that would. He would get too nervous during the road trip, and then he would drink too much water, and then he would constantly have to go. And then Jesper would use that as an excuse to like make out with him in the bathroom or something. How could I, a materialistic hoarder, live the minimalist life? I want to be able to give up all the first editions I have and fandom merch and stuff that only really means much to me and live the 4 books life. I want to kind of live that life so I can take more unstable jobs and move across country and leave my family without any stress of moving. But at the same time, I'm not ready to let go of all my worldly materialistic crap. So like, rip, my dude. If you really want to commit to a minimalist life, you should ask yourself, why do I want to do it? And are the reasons that you want to do it enough to commit to it? Because if you find enjoyment in the books that you do have, I don't see what's wrong with keeping them. So maybe just ask yourself when you are going through your book collection, is this specific book still giving me joy? And if it's not giving me joy, if I don't care about it anymore, if it just stresses me out, then that's a sign for you to get rid of it. What is one thing you don't like about BookTube? Ooh, tea. I don't like that people get very caught up in subscriber count. I feel like it does more harm than good because it just makes people like compare themselves to one another and just feel unhappy about things that really shouldn't matter. What has been the most overwhelming thing about being on BookTube/Twitter, and how do you handle it? To be honest, I don't really get overwhelmed by BookTube or BookTwitter because I think I know when to separate my internet life and my real life. I think it's just about knowing when to take a step back and making sure you're not in too deep about like any stupid bullshit. The closest answer that I could give to you is I do feel pressure sometimes to actively watching other people's videos and commenting other people's videos, but I've accepted the fact that it's unsustainable to do any of that. I don't get overwhelmed by book Twitter at all. I'm actually not very active on Twitter. I literally only log in so that I can post a stupid meme and then I fucking bounce. If there's any drama or whatever, I don't get involved in that because I just don't really care enough to invest my energy in that kind of thing, unless it's really funny drama. Like when Soap Dickgate happened, that was fucking funny. What's your view on BookTube just being a popularity contest, / what's your advice to people who feel down because they're not grasping as fast as some other creators? I don't think I am the right person to ask for that because my channel grew abnormally faster than most other people. I mean, who am I to say that when I thought there was someone outside my hotel room and I got really paranoid. Anyway, I'm not the right person to ask this, but if I had to give advice, try really hard to shift your priorities for your BookTube channel to be not about numbers. Try really hard to focus on building a small community among your friends and making content that you love to make and focusing on books that you love to read. Don't get caught up in numbers because if you do, I don't think you'll ever be happy. Even if you got like 100,000 subscribers, I think if you are already in that mentality that your numbers are indicative of your worth or whatever, you're never going to be happy because there's always going to be someone who has higher subscriber count than you. So don't invest your energy in that. It's not a big deal. How are you so funny? Also, do you like Throne of Glass? Also, have you read Heartless? Also, do you have any tips for making good, funny YouTube videos? Because I suck at making videos. By the way, I'm also sweaty and gross and nobody likes me. Whew. How am I so funny? I don't know. How do you guys have a shitty sense of humor? Do you like Throne of Glass? I have not read Throne of Glass. It is on my to-read list at some point, but it's such a thick series and I'm intimidated by her thickness. Have you read Heartless? The one by Marissa Meyer, right? If so, yes. I rated it 3 stars because I was like, eh. Do you have any tips for making good, funny YouTube videos? I don't know. Maybe try to think of jokes beforehand, unlike what I'm doing right now. Will you be going to BookCon? Nope, because I am very frugal with my money, so I wouldn't spend money on tickets and flights and stuff like that. Especially because you go to BookCon so that you can get like more books, and I don't really care about collecting books. Will you ever do paid promotion stuff? I got a few questions asked. Oh, shit. This Q&A is a mess. I've actually gotten a lot of promotion offers on my channel, but I have rejected all of them. Not because I have principles, but just because I'm not interested in that. A lot of times, authors or publishers will reach out to me to ask them to review their book in exchange of a free copy, and I always say no because, again, I am not interested in collecting books. And honestly, I feel like when people ask me that, they're not actually watching my videos and they're just judging based on the subscriber count or the views. Because if you actually watch my videos, you would know that I am very critical of books. The average rating that I give to books is 3 stars. Even if I really like a book and I give it 4 stars or 5 stars, I will still say what the flaws are in the book and the shortcomings and what they could do better. So obviously, you're trying to promote your book, you're trying to make it seem like it's the best thing ever. You should not talk to me about it because I probably will not make it look good. And I'm not gonna like lie and pretend that it's a good book if I don't like it, you know? I would accept a sponsorship if they actually gave me money instead of books. Like, if they give me money, then I'll fucking sell out to you. Hit me up. And I would also accept sponsorships if the book was already on my to-read list. And if the book is from a major publisher rather than from an indie author or a self-published book. Because I know that if I am most likely gonna rate an indie book very low, that's gonna do more damage to them than a mainstream popular book. Does that make sense? What is one thing you think the booktube community needs to improve on? I would say chilling the fuck out. Maybe it's because the community is so small. When like a minor thing happens, everyone just fucking shits their pants over it. People get caught up in stupid bullshit to the point where it becomes a volatile environment when really this community is just a bunch of fucking book nerds talking about books. Like, it ain't that deep. And if it is deep, we should actually have productive conversations about it rather than trying to shut each other down. Who was the first booktuber you started watching? That would be Jesse the Reader. I just like to style over other booktubers that I saw because he's very energetic and happy, which I know is very ironic because that's like the complete opposite of my style, but I find his energy to be quite endearing. And now he follows me on Twitter and Instagram. What a world. This has really come full circle. What's your favorite tea to spill? Whatever is really ridiculous to the point where everyone can just laugh and make fun of it, that's my favorite tea to spill. So for example, when Soapdickgate happened, that was fucking funny. This question is for Basic Bitch. Will you do more videos with Cindy? I love you, Basic Bitch. Well, I can understand why you would like her. She is definitely better looking than me. I don't know, she'll be back. It just depends on if more people say stupid sexist bullshit. I'm an incredibly insecure person, but really want to start a book channel on YouTube. Do you have any tips to put yourself out there and not be insecure? So when you start out, you're gonna feel awkward no matter what. You're gonna hate looking at your face. You're gonna hate hearing your voice. That is inevitable and you can't avoid that. And I kind of see it as just ripping off the band-aid. Just get it over with, because the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and then the less you care about how you sound like or what you look like. And also, if it's any consolation, when you start out, nobody's really watching your videos. So you don't have to feel embarrassed because most likely not many people are watching, and that gives you the time to really get more comfortable with filming and editing. So you will have the time to grow into your YouTube persona or whatever. What software do you use to edit your videos? I use iMovie because I am a basic bitch, but also I purposely want to make my videos as simple as possible. I don't want to put in more effort than it needs to be. The only exceptions that I have made are my 6 Pros in a Nutshell video. I used After Effects to put the characters' faces and track them along the real life actors. That's something that you can't really do with iMovie, but even though I used After Effects, I made sure to make it look as really scrappy as possible because 1, it's funnier that way because it's a meme, and 2, again, I really don't want to put any more effort than I need to. The only other exception is when I put together vlogs. I will edit it on iMovie. Everything is on iMovie, but I might put it on Premiere Pro just to tweak the coloring so that it looks a little bit nicer. But other than that, the bulk of the editing is on iMovie, and then I make the edits very simple where I just zoom in on my face or I put like crappy Comic Sans text over it. So It's not that deep. What has been the hardest thing about making videos for you? I am limited with how long I can film because I am filming on my iPhone and I have very limited storage. So I can't film for like longer than half an hour. Another hard thing is making videos discreetly. I can only do it during my lunch break because I don't want my roommate or anyone else to hear me or find out about it. What made you decide to start making videos, and were you a longtime booktube lurker? Any old faves, or did you only relatively recently stumble upon it? For a while, I had been using books as escapism for my depression, but that was not enough. I needed to be deeper into my escapism, so I went ahead and went even deeper to a more pathetic level by making videos about books specifically. Before that, I had been a long-time lurker on booktube. What do you use for thumbnails? I basically take a screenshot of the video, I put it on Photoshop, I brighten it up a little bit, I boost up the saturation, just whatever helps me look less crusty, and then I will slap some text onto it, and then we're done. Were you hesitant about joining booktube? Is it harder or easier than you expected? I was not hesitant about joining booktube because I expected to not get many viewers in the first place, so I figured like I'll just start it out and then I'll probably get bored of it after a month, especially after seeing that nobody's watching, and then I'll just bounce. Obviously that didn't happen, but booktube is a lot easier than I expected. If you had unlimited funding / resources / time to create a video, what would you want it to be? Oh, you mean if I actually tried? Well, I would love to do a music video that takes place in various local bookshops to show off the interior design of local bookstores and also show off some of the titles that they are presenting there. I would want to kind of make it like an art ho kind of video, just slap some music on it with some nice editing, and it's like a nice way to show off local bookstores. I also have this other video idea that I kind of want to do at some point if I had like the time and money for it, but I'm not going to say what it is because I feel like if I say it, someone will fucking do it before I do, and I selfishly do not want that. People are already doing the quick zoom-ins and starting to curse a lot and acting sassy in their videos. Let me just have this one scrap of originality that I have, okay? What's something you don't see enough of on booktube? Dark-skinned booktubers that are mainstream. It would be nice to have more dark-skinned booktubers rising up to the ranks so that we can just alleviate some of the colorism in the community, which is not on purpose, by the way, but it's still something that we should be cognizant of. Is it a problem that I've watched every single video on your channel? I think it might be a serious medical problem. Yeah, it is, because you're probably fucking blind by now. Okay, I gotta leave now to head over to the party, but yeah, thanks for watching. I gotta go now. Bye. Hello, it is morning after the party. I think I slept at around like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and I got pretty drunk, and you know what? I still might be. Actually, no. Am I drunk? I might be a little high, that's what I might be.